I'm Eric Vickery, president of All Star Coaching Division. The number one thing we hear from practices they want is for patients to get healthy, to create beautiful smiles, to make sure their patients leave being thankful for the services they've received. The best way we know how to help offices create this experience is through case acceptance. It's through verbal skills. It's through keeping the schedule full. It's creating happy customers, happy patients. And so when we're training how to speak, how to communicate, how to really encourage patients to get enrolled in their care, we have to figure out a way to measure that. And that's where KPIs come in, key performance indicators. What are they? So we're tracking everything possible from a standpoint of how full was the schedule? Did we have cancellations, meaning patients didn't see value in it? What was our effective rate? How much dentistry were we doing per visit, per patient that sits down, whether it's in hygiene or in doctor? What's our perio percentage? How effective are we at communicating, a patient's lack of health to convert them into some sort of care to improve their lifestyle? And we figured out a way to track exactly how to do that. Our KPI tracker is built where for 5 minutes a day, a team member can spend inputting some data that makes it so simple to figure out what buttons do we need to push in the practice from a system standpoint, from a verbal skills standpoint, in order to not only get the patient healthier, but therefore get the practice healthier. The KPI tracker, we call it the coaching results tracker. It determines what we ought to be working on. What ought we be doing during our team meeting and training? If you're having an issue with cancellations, open time, we can talk about how to prevent that with verbal skills and implement systems to create accountability. If you're having really low referrals for your new patients, we can work on how to ask for referrals properly. If the schedule isn't ideal, we don't have an ideal scheduling blueprint being followed, it will show on the tracker because we won't hit the KPI targets that we need to by provider in the doctor schedule and even the hygiene schedule. When coaching is implemented alongside your KPI tracker, we get the best results. We can actually monitor how well the implementation is going with any verbal skill that you've been working on, any system you've been trying to implement. When we coach our doctors on understanding the tracker, we take it from the standpoint of once a month we meet, we talk with the doctor, we explain exactly what we're seeing in the tracker to really create a leadership role from the doctor's perspective to lead from the numbers, to be able to go to their team and say, here's where we're strong, here's where we're weak, and here's the opportunities we have to grow. We have open time. What can we do differently to get a different result? We create action plans, we create goals out of it, and it even has at the end of the year a goal setting section of it that shows you exactly what it would look like to grow by department, hygiene or doctor and collections, practice total, new patient total. What would it look like to grow 10% or 20%? All of this is in the KPI tracker ready to go. And that's just the beginning. We have a case acceptance tracker. We have new patient phone call tracker. How many phone calls did I get? How many did I schedule? And if they didn't schedule, why didn't they schedule? We have admin teams who really, really appreciate this because it goes from how do you feel we're doing on the phone call to knowing how effective we are implementing the verbal skills and systems it takes to get new patients scheduled. Along with case acceptance tracker, we put that in the hands of a treatment coordinator, an administrative or assistant type person, even an associate doctor who's really learning how to grow their own practice within a practice. And so I thought I'd show you what that tracker looks like right here on my screen. And here's the case acceptance tracker. Very simple to use. New patients or existing patients, name, dollar amount presented, if they scheduled, what dollar amount did they schedule? And here's the important part. What we're looking for is, hey, did we present to new patients? Total patient numbers? Wow, that's an effective number. What is a doctor monthly goal? Well, if you're not presenting enough dentistry to even hit that monthly goal, how can you expect to get there? What's your average case size? Is it above your goal? And then when we ask offices, what should your case acceptance rate be? Many don't know exactly what it ought to be. They say, oh, 85%. Well, 85% of what? We actually want 80% of the patients minimum scheduling something. So in this case, they got 25 out of the 28 patients they presented to schedule something. And then we want at least 60% of the dollars being presented. And this was a great month for this practice. They had 95% of their dollars. However, I would also challenge them and say, well, maybe we're playing it too safe, and that's why our dollars accepted was too high. I don't know, just a challenge. This is a great tracker for somebody who's wanting to improve case acceptance and they want to monitor it. Now, if somebody doesn't schedule, right here, if somebody doesn't schedule, you've got a follow-up column that every month your treatment coordinator can go back and review and say, do I want to follow up with this person, and keep those notes. And it's a great way to just go month by month and figure out who do we need to follow up with. Here's a ending view of what our KPI tracker looks like. And right now this is filled out, so it looks like it has a lot of numbers in it. And for a quick overview, what I will show you is we do a doctor department, we do a hygiene department, and a practice total. And what we're looking at is pretty simple. Really inputting 5 numbers a day tells us everything we need to know about the doctor side. How many hours were available and how many patients did we see in that? Is it a healthy ratio? And how much lost time did we incur, and what was the value of that? And then what was our, this would be a gross production number or net production, depending on how your practice puts it in, your dental software. And then what does that create for a production per patient? And we have norms that we're comparing production per patient to production per hour. That tells us how efficient it is. Now, some people look at that and say, oh, it's just about dollars. No, that's just the metrics that we have, because when you put in a treatment plan, we can't put in, you presented 4 crowns. How many crowns were scheduled, etc. We're just looking at dollars presented, dollars accepted, and how did we do it, scheduling it effectively. We have a new patient column there for doctor. Same thing on hygiene side, hours, patients, open time, and production. The only difference is we're also figuring out how healthy or unhealthy is your perio department. And then we coach from that point. We're also looking at what are the norms that we want to hit for hygiene. This was in 2017. And then we add those together. We get a production for practice collections. And if we produce, in this example, 1.3 million, we want to be collecting 1.3 million. It'll show you what your collection rate is. This practice was at 98%. And then here is the new patient analysis tab that I was talking about, where we're looking at every single marketing resource you're using to create a total number of new patients that come in. And we're going to track, what did you spend to get that new patient in the door? And is it worth it? Because if you're spending a bunch of money on mailers and it's not paying out, you're paying way too much for a new patient. In this example, they spent $36,000 a year on mailers. They only got 23 patients from that marketing source, which was way too much. That is why we canceled the mailer and we moved over and put our money into Google and Google SEO experiences. And you can see here, we spent $8,400 a year to get 100 patients. Our per patient rate was $84. We're getting closer and closer to our target of how much should we be spending for a whole practice, in a healthy way. That should be below $55. You can see in this practice, it was $87. So we can get really detailed and figure out, well, what's working, what's not working, and how do we convert? And then the new patient phone tracker, simple example of that is how many calls did we take, how many scheduled, and from what marketing source did they come in? And most offices love this kind of stuff because they really start to see how effective they are with implementing the skills that we're training. Is it working for your practice? So if you want to hear more about KPI coaching, growth coaching, how to grow your practice from a team training standpoint, the tracker is a great place to help you evaluate that and understand how to change, how to grow. I think those two words are synonymous. If you're growing, you're changing. If you're not changing, you're probably not growing. So we'd love to help you understand your numbers, how to push the buttons, how to push the dials in a healthy way so that your practice grows and your patients get healthier, just like you wanted.